Hey everyone, today we are out here finally again with Christian, and what you see here is the AREX Rex 01 tactical model. Now if you guys have been following my channel, you guys know that I've already done a video on the compact model, which I bought myself way back when. I've done the standard model, which is the full-size version of that, and then now we are doing the video of the tactical model. Basically it's just the standard model with a couple upgrades. So I'm going to run over those real quick, and then we'll cut to some shooting, and then we'll go a little bit more in depth. So just right off the bat, a couple of the differences. We have some suppressor height sights, which go very well with the threaded barrel, which, just FYI, we shot this thing suppressed a ton. We also have a plate cutout back here for a red dot, for those of you who want to do that. We'll cover that in a little bit more detail, but I mean, other than that, really, it's just like your regular standard model Rex 01, which is a good thing in my opinion. So with those little high bits or high points, whatever you want to call them.
High points.
I always hate to say high point because I always get that association with the pistol. But anyway, with those high points out of the way, let's get to some video of us shooting it, and then we'll dive a little bit more in depth about this gun.
Great gun.
All day with that, Kevin.
Yeah.
Seem to do okay with it.
Yeah, this is a great gun. Smooth. Love it. Oh, geez.
Forward? Oh, the hunt. I told Amanda about Rob. I call Rob. And then he'll come over and borrow one of mine. I'm like, yeah, dude, for that gun. And that's freaking get away.
So there's a very specific reason I wanted Christian to help me out with this video. A, just to get him out shooting again, and then B, because would you say that you are a fan of the SIG 226?
Yeah, I would say that I'm a fan of the SIG 226.
So do you own one? And if so, how many rounds roughly have you put through?
I own the SIG 226 Mark 25, the seal version with a little anchor on it, which is cool. I don't care what you say, it's cool.
He was in the Navy.
In the time I've had it, I've probably put 8,000 rounds, 9,000 rounds through it total.
I believe it. It feels like it. The way when you cycle it, you can tell that that thing's been shot a lot. So he's got a lot of experience with the SIG 226, which is relevant because, as many people have pointed out, this gun is, I guess, to put it simply, is a SIG 226 clone, which is, again, I think a good thing. If you're going to model your gun after something, a SIG 226 is not a bad thing to model it off of. You got the double action, single action, you got the decocker, you got a lot of features that it shares. However, as I've said in all of my other videos, there are things that I think this does better, but again, I wanted Christian's opinion on some of these things as well, considering he's got a lot more experience on the 226 than I do. So just really quick, let's just run through what things you notice about this gun versus a 226.
Right off the bat, what I noticed mostly was that the grip is slightly wider. Dimensionally, it's just slightly different than the 226. It's a little bit wider grip, a little bit shorter slide. Things that I liked about it, I don't really like the wider grip, but things I did like about it is the trigger reset is shorter right out of the box. The SIG 226 has a very long trigger reset, and you generally have to get an aftermarket to make that shorter. The rail is a little bit longer than the 226, so I don't know if that's going to affect what accessories you can or can't carry. It does have the safety, which is nice. SIG 226s do not have the safety, and if you're familiar at all with 1911s or whatever, the safety is really well placed to manipulate that without too much hassle. Other than that, you close your eyes, you're shooting basically the same gun. I mean, it shoots about the same. It's about as accurate. The function, it's got the same decocker in the same place. The decocker is shorter. It's a shorter distance to run the decocker than on the SIG. The SIG is very long, and it's a very definite click at the bottom of the movement. But with this thing, it's relatively short. It's just right there. So that I like a little bit better, because you're not, unless you really want the deliberate action of decocking. But this is just a real quick tick, and you're done. So other than that, I like it. The grips are a little bit narrower. The grip panels are a little bit flatter. So you've got more of a, I don't want to say it, but more of a 1911 feel to it because it's flat and wide. So that's nice because I shoot 1911s a bunch as well.
Mm-hmm.
The trigger guard is bigger, so you can shoot with gloves. I've shot my 226 with gloves. It's not hard. It's not great, depending on the gloves.
Mm.
But this one, you've got a lot more versatility of like cold weather shooting, things like that. You can have a thicker glove.
Cool.
Yeah. Other than that, I like it.
So to kind of piggyback off a lot of those points that he just brought up, to me, some of the big differences are, again, that decocker is in the similar spot, but you got that little bit of less travel. But what I like about the way the decocker is set up on here is it's the same lever as the slide release. So if you're familiar with a 226, this has the safety in the same place that the slide lock is on a SIG 226, which for me is a kind of a big deal because the way that I rest my hands on a gun, my thumb sits right on top of that slide lock on a 226. So like the first couple times I shot one, I kept thinking, man, this gun's not locking open on an empty mag. What's going on? This gun's broken. And then I realized, no, that's just a me thing. And yes, that is a training issue. I could definitely train around that. I could adjust my grip and fix that. However, if I don't have to do that, then that's also a good thing because then I can have the same grip on a 1911, a Glock, and then a Rec 01. So that allows me to do that. I don't have to worry about holding that side lock down. And then with that safety, again, as Christian said, having that safety so I can carry it cocked and locked is a really good thing because as you'll see when we talk about accuracy later, there's, for me, again, this is a training thing, but there's a noticeable difference in accuracy for me when I'm pulling that double action trigger to when I'm just doing that single action trigger. So the fact that I can carry it with that hammer down and the safety on safely, because realistically you cannot do that safely with a 226. I know there are people who are going to argue that, but the general doctrine is it is unsafe to carry a 226 cocked. So the fact that I can do that safety with the Rec 01 is a really, really great thing. And that's just kind of some of the general differences between this and a 226. Obviously, this specific model, you have it already cut for optics, which I don't know if there is a 226 that comes like that from the factory.
I don't think so.
And this comes with a threaded barrel, which I know there are threaded barrels for 226s. I don't know if any of them come with them. Maybe just the Legion? I don't think
the Legion comes with it. I don't think it does. I think it's aftermarket.
So again, this comes with a lot of features, which again are available in the aftermarket for 226. May be available in some factory options. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. But it comes with a lot of these features that a lot of people want, just right out of the box, ready to go. So with that, let's just go ahead and do some close-up looks at the different features of this gun so you can see a little bit more about what we were talking about.
I think I like this one best.
Yeah?
As a host.
How does it feel suppressed? Really good. Surprisingly good.
So we really wanted to get out of the way the comparisons between the 226 and the Rec 01 because I know that's what a lot of people ask about in the comments, and again, hence why I had Christian here with me, as well as just to get him shooting again, which I guess we should cover. He just recently went through an injury a few months ago, and so we've been doing a series documenting his recovery.
Ew, it's gross.
Yeah, documenting his recovery, so we're going to be doing an update to that series right after we're done with this video, so definitely I'll have a link to that at the end of this one. Definitely check it out. It's been an interesting journey, and he's come definitely a long way. So anyway, that out of the way, shameless plug for another series. Like I said, so if you look at where the safety is here, let me do this. It's ambidextrous, so on both sides, it's in the same spot. You can see red means dead for those of you taking your firearm safety courses. The only thing about the safety is the way that the grip panels are set up. It's really flared out right under the safety, so it's a little bit of a pain to get on. Now that said, it's really easy to get off, and if I have to choose between it being difficult to engage versus difficult to disengage, I'd rather it be difficult to engage so that I'm not inadvertently actuating that safety at some point. Now with the safety engaged, you can still cycle the slide. However, It is nice that this has front slide serrations, which I don't typically use, but if you're going to be cycling the slide with the safety on, I would do it from up here just because you're going to destroy your fingers coming back trying to cycle it into that safety. But you can actuate the slide with that safety engaged. But like I said, it's really easy to disengage because it is ambi. It's in a very similar spot, again, for 1911 shooters. Super easy to disengage, and then you're ready to rock and roll. Kind of talking about the grips too, not only does it kind of get in the way of being able to engage the safety, they're still leaving a little bit to be desired. Now, if you guys saw the video that I did at SHOT Show with FIME Group, talking about the Rex models, or the AREX models, I should say, they have improved the grip over the previous models that I've tested. This one does feel better than those older models. That said, it still is a little slick, in my opinion, compared to some of the other options out there. Now, they do have aftermarket grips available. I believe they're G10, correct me if I'm wrong. But they do have that option, which is going to make it lock in your hand a lot nicer. And again, I did show some of those in that video. So, take a look at that if you feel so inclined. One nice thing about this, I guess one thing I forgot to mention in comparison to this between the SIG 226 and something I'll probably have Christian touch on later, is it is an always ambi magazine release. So sometimes you can switch it from left-handed to right-handed. This one you can always actuate it left-handed. You can always actuate it right-handed. You don't have to swap anything over. And again, I'll make sure I have Christian touch on that when we're wrapping up this video or the next time he's on camera, whichever one is sooner. So that is a really nice option for me. It doesn't make a huge difference, but I know a lot of lefties out there are going to like something like that. It does seem to have a slightly more flared magwell than the SIG 226, and then it does have the little lanyard loop back here. If that matters to you, doesn't make a big difference to me. As I mentioned, it does have a 3-dot sight set up for the suppressor height sights. Not a huge fan of 3-dot, but these do work pretty well. And again, because it is suppressor height sights, every silencer that I've attached to this, which has been a Liberty Mystic and a Griffin Optimus, I'm not sure if I've attached any other ones to it, all of those worked perfectly fine attaching to it, and I had good clearance over the silencer, so I could still get a really clean sight picture without any obstruction whatsoever. While I'm talking about shooting it suppressed, I've shot this thing suppressed, just I guess in general, I've shot definitely over 1,000 rounds through this specific handgun here. About 600 of those were suppressed, shooting mostly subsonic Fiocchi ammo. They're 158 grain ammo. Done a bunch of videos talking about that. And then the rest of it has been supersonic. Myself, been shooting the 115 grain Fiocchi ammo through it, which again, I should say I appreciate Fiocchi ammo supplying the ammunition for these tests. But just yesterday, I was at a range event hosted by Thor Targets, the guys who make the steel targets that I've been shooting a lot. And out there, guys were putting whatever ammo they had into it. And so it shot steel-cased ammo, not a high volume of it, but it shot steel-cased ammo, all kinds of random ammo through it just fine, which I should also go on to say. With all that ammo through it, I've had 0 malfunctions, which should be no surprise to anyone who's been following these guns. Military Arms Channel did an excellent torture test video comparing this to the SIG 226 Legion, and so far, I believe not only did it beat the Legion, it has outperformed every other gun he's put through that gauntlet test, and that should say something. Now, granted, that's a sample size of 1 that he was able to test, but nonetheless, these things are proving themselves as inherently reliable guns, which again kind of comes from it being modeled after the 226, another inherently reliable gun. So again, good things there. I guess since I'm talking about the similarities to the 226, if you break this thing down, it's going to look identical to a 226 internally, especially in the frame area. But again, that is not a bad thing in my opinion. One of the big differences is this has full-length rails, which I don't think the 226 does.
It's slightly shorter. It's about, I would say, half an inch shorter.
Okay, so a slight difference in the rails between the frame and the slide where that engagement is going on. But in this case, it just feels really good. Man, I'm just kind of all over the board with this section, but we'll power through. One thing I want to talk about is the little optic cutout up here. It does work. I've seen other people run it. I intended to run a red dot on this pistol. However, the company that was supposed to be supplying it was really dragging their feet on it, so I was never able to run it with a red dot. Now, that said, they come with 4 different base plates for you to be able to attach pretty much any, pistol designed red dot out there. A lot of those what do they call them? Not reflex sights. Is that what they call them?
Reflex
sights?
sights,
Yeah. A lot of those reflex sights, it's adaptable for those. And it even comes with the Allen keys to be able to unscrew these mounts up here, which I should say, if you don't plan on running it with a red dot, go ahead and take out these fasteners, degrease them, and maybe put a little bit of blue Loctite on them to make sure they don't back out on you. I did not do that, and I have noticed over time I have to keep kind of fingering them down to get them to stay in place because they were wanting to work their way out. Not a big deal. I was able to get on top of them in time, but just something to keep in mind for those of you who don't plan on running a red dot on it, which it functions fine without a red dot, and I've seen it with a red dot, and it functions fine like that as well. Let's see. I mean, that's pretty much this thing in a nutshell. If you've seen my other AREX Rec 01 videos, it's going to be very, very similar. Again, the main differences being the suppressor height sights, the threaded barrel, and the optics ready capability. One thing I will say again, if you don't plan on running it with a suppressor very often, I would get like a little O-ring to lock this thread protector down, just because I have noticed that again over time with shooting this thing without a suppressor on it, it will start to work its way off. So just something to keep in mind, something to pay attention to. But again, those of you who've been running threaded barrels probably know to look out for that anyway. So with that said, let's go ahead and do some more shooting with this thing, and then we'll talk about accuracy and then wrap up this video. So while I have Christian on camera, I want to have you talk a little bit about the Always Ambi magazine release. Let me grab a magazine while you start talking about it.
Okay, so after having cut my thumb off completely and it being kicked from me, I had to have it reattached. So I have no strength in the thumb. I can't move it to build muscle, so I can't work the mag release on this with my thumb unless I really shift my grip and push directly into it, which, okay, so I can't do that. Luckily, without having to break my grip, I can reach with my trigger finger and pop that mag right out. It's harder because I'm not used to it, obviously. It's a push instead of a pull, and I do have a lot of nerve damage in my finger, but with nerve damage in my finger, I can still run that, drop that out, put it back in, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
So I like the ambidextrous. It's going to take a little bit of training for me to either build up strength in my thumb, which I don't think I can do, because can I get closer?
Yeah, go
Is
for
that
it.
all right?
Yeah,
Okay.
as
So,
close as you want.
if you look, where are we at?
Yeah. It's zooming in on my face, so let's just do that.
Okay, so if you look, I can't really reach it because I've lost length on my thumb. So I'm not going to be able to reach that ever, no matter how strong, how strong I get my thumb back. So being able to hit it with this finger is all I'm going to be able to do. So I'm going to have to look for an aftermarket ambi safety for my SIG.
And
But it works.
I know there are probably going to be some people who say, well, just learn how to do it with your support hand. That's great in theory if you have both hands available, which is not always going to be the case.
It's true, because what am I going to do when I got like a broken, my right hand's all cut off and I'm sitting there bleeding to death and screaming medic, and there are no medics because this is the real world and not World War II. So I just got done watching Band of Brothers again.
Oh, man,
so
that's such a good
I've been
series.
screaming medic in my sleep.
All right. So, again, I wanted him to cover that just because, again, that's not something I would have ever considered being a thing. But, again, people have extenuating circumstances and stuff that make it a little bit more ergonomic for people who have limited mobility in their hands or limited function in either hand. That's a pretty cool thing that we noticed.
An extended mag release option would be good, like the ones that they make for the Glocks that come further back into the grip. I think, because if I could hit one of those, like a little lever or something, I might be able to work in the way to do that. But, you know, for now, I like the ambi safety.
Yeah.
Or ambidextrous thing. And it's got an ambi safety, too. So.
Yeah. So, good stuff there. So let's go ahead and talk about accuracy. Now, I have the fortune of having a lot more rounds several hundred rounds through it, just myself shooting it, over Christian. However, you do have some similarities between the 226, so you actually didn't do too bad either. Also, I should say, this is the first time you've shot a handgun since your injury,
before
and then
my
even
injury.
before the injury,
Yeah.
it had been probably a couple months.
So we're looking at what? September, October, November, December, January, February, March. 6 months.
6 months.
So
So
it's been half a year.
a 6-month gap from the last time you shot a handgun.
With an injury.
With an injury, which is going to have
Substantial.
significant nerve damage and feel, and all that stuff is gone.
Missing digits.
So let's see. The first group I shot, I believe, was this one right here. Or no, this was you. This
That
was
was
you.
me. The
You
first
started
was
with
the
this one.
middle.
So as you can see, the total group is about, here-ish. Let me just bring this a little bit closer.
Here-ish is not a word.
It's this general area, which is probably going to be about 4 inches from corner to corner. However, you can tell that at least half of those were in this nice little group right here, this big ragged hole, which is about 1.5 inches. So considering that was literally the first trigger pulse he'd ever done in 6 months and since his injury, that's not too bad. I started to open it up a little bit with my groups, but then I calmed down a little bit, and then I shot this group. And these are all 20-round groups, by the way, standing with 2 hands. I should point that out. So these are quote-unquote real-world groups that you can probably expect. So this is a 20-round group right here. I felt really, really good about this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you look at that for a little bit longer because, again, I feel really good about that. So definitely doable. I think this was actually your 1911 shooting that one-handed.
Yeah.
But shooting it one-handed, he was actually doing really well.
That was rough.
To show you a little bit more about the accuracy, we went ahead and shot 5-round groups rested, and I'm going to go ahead and cover up Christian's face so it wants to focus on this. And let's see, who's he gonna? There he is. Let's see. I believe I did these top 2, and not terrible, about in line with what that other one was. As far as like the big central group, we were looking at about maybe just 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches on both of these. Christian did these ones down here, pretty similar. And then, as I said earlier, alluded to, the double action pull. This center group, I decided to do all double action trigger pulls. So I hit the decocker every single time. This was my very first round. Again, trying to get used to that double action trigger pull. Dropped it way down. Then from there, I really focused down, and I was able to close it up a little bit, but it's still a little bit bigger. Now again, I get that that's a training thing. If I had a lot more time with the double action trigger, I'd probably be better with it. But I carry Glocks predominantly, and I shoot a lot of other striker-fired guns. That's what my familiarity is. So the fact that I can carry this cocked and locked safely eliminates any of the issues with having to do it with a double action trigger. But I guess all this to say, to me, it's definitely more accurate than I can be. I feel confident in saying that. And I think most guns out there are more accurate than the people shooting them. So I have no concerns about accuracy with this thing whatsoever. And even suppressed, I've been shooting good groups with it suppressed too. Which I guess, now that we're done talking about accuracy, I should talk a little bit more about shooting this thing suppressed. So in the big day where we shot probably either 400 or 500 rounds all in one day suppressed, with this gun, we were shooting it against a SIG 226, a Glock 34, a Glock 19, and the Rec 01, all shooting all those suppressed with the Griffin Optimus. And both myself and my friend who was with me that day, my friend Nate, not Christian, we agreed that this feels the best shooting suppressed. And yesterday, when I was at that Thor Targets shoot, we were shooting it suppressed with that Liberty Mystic that belongs to my friend Randy. And again, everyone who shot it suppressed really, really enjoyed the way it feels. It balances really well with that silencer on the front of it, and it just is a very smooth feeling recoil process with that suppressor on the front. So if you are looking for a gun to be a dedicated suppressor host, this is a really, 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 really good option. It just feels very nice with the can on it, and it's purpose built to have a can on it, again, with the suppressor height sights and the threaded barrel. It's so funny over there. Saying really too many times.
Phrasing.
Oh.
Just You're phrasing.
Oh, maybe I wasn't paying enough attention because I don't remember what I said.
It's not you, it's me.
Anyway, it happens. So again, I wish we'd had a can on it out here today so that Christian could give his perspectives on that. But take it from me, and again, I'll roll in footage of my friends talking about it. It just feels really good shooting suppressed. So again, if you want to suppressor host, this is a really good way to go. One thing I just realized we didn't mention because we didn't have a mag on it earlier is this mag here is a 20-round mag. It comes standard with two 20-round mags. It will work with the 17-round like Rec 01S magazines. Functions just fine with those, but you do have the extended magazines if you want to run those. And one interesting thing we noticed is my friend accidentally, when we were shooting a suppressed, we were shooting his SIG 226 also at the same time. He grabbed one of his, it was either he grabbed one of his SIG mags and put it in the AREX and ran the entire mag, or he grabbed one of the AREX mags and put it in his SIG. Is that the opposite of what I just said? I can't remember if I just said it the same way
Either way.
twice. Either way, you get what I'm going for here. Ran the entire mag through it, and it fed. It didn't lock into place. He was able to just pull it out after he was done, and he did it unintentionally. Was able to get it to cycle just fine, and that's because these mags are so similar. I would not say they're interchangeable because they lock differently, but if you're pressed, you can do it. Now, one thing we did notice is going with the AREX into the SIG, I had to teacup hold it to hold the mag in because the mag kept wanting to back its way out. And that was really, really weird. I think it might be the first time I've ever done a teacup grip while shooting. Hopefully the last. And it fed, it cycled. I don't know how consistently it would do that. It definitely not to the point where I would say buy SIG mags for your AREX or buy AREX mags for your SIG. Don't do that. But it was a little interesting thing we noticed when we tried putting your SIG mag into the AREX. We did have a couple cycling issues, and I think it was just the way it's engaging with the follower. But just a little interesting side note. This video's been all over the place, but we'll make do. So I think we've covered just about everything I wanted to cover today. So let's go ahead and wrap up our thoughts. So just overall, what would you say your opinion is of, and this is the first Rec 01 you've ever shot, right? So what is your opinion of the Rec 01?
I have a pretty good opinion of it. I like the different features that we talked about. I do like the fact that the decocker is a lot shorter, and I really like the fact that it has an external safety, so you can't carry it cocked and locked, which is nice. I really like the higher sights. I know they're suppressor height, but even without suppressor, they're a lot quicker to get. The sight picture is a lot faster to acquire, so I think that worked out really well. I don't like how wide the grip is, because I'm used to a narrow grip and I don't have very big hands, and now my grip length is a bit shorter, so this was a little bit different to get a hold of, and I can't grip anything with my pinky because it's useless. But overall, I think it's a really well shooting gun. It's really accurate, and I like it.
So yeah, what was your opinion of the feel of the grip panels themselves? Do you feel like they were too slick?
No, I don't think they were too slick. I think they were a little too narrow. They're a little flat. The grip is clearly not aggressive, but it's a lot better than some of the grips. I mean, I have aluminum grips on mine, and the grip on those is not really all that aggressive.
Yeah.
I want to switch them out for the G10 because they can make some G10s that are super aggressive. That are going to be really good.
Yeah. It's really locked.
But
in
they're a little bit more aggressive than my really slick aluminum grips. So I like them. They're just, I don't like plastic because plastic feels weak.
Feels plastic.
And it's just I don't like plastic. So I always switch out my grips for something if they come with plastic. So I would definitely switch these out the minute I got the gun. I probably wouldn't shoot it very much with the grips on it that are on it. Not that they're bad, but they're not great either.
So I know you have a long history with a SIG 226. Let's go back many years.
Many years ago.
And you hadn't bought your SIG 226 yet, and you had to choose between a Rec 01 tactical or just any Rec 01 and a SIG 226. And let's assume you had full function in your hand again. What direction do you think you would go?
That's a really hard question to answer. It's a really hard question to answer because they're so functionally similar. And if I didn't have the injury, it would be even harder to answer that question. With an injury, if I had the injury that I have now, I'd definitely go for the Rex because it's more conducive to what I want to be, my capabilities for the gun with the ambidextrous, everything. I like that. This is going to sound really stupid, and I'm sorry to my SIG. The look of the Rex, I like better. I like the full length rail on the bottom. I like the flat front. I like the angle cuts on the top. You know, I do like the bigger trigger guard. The look of it looks more tactical, more racy, more modern. The SIG is a little dull.
It shows its age.
It's a little German dull. Yes, there you go. It does show its age. It is a very old design, and it could use some modern updating and some cues, which they did a lot with the Legion series. But the Legion series are ridiculously priced.
Yeah.
And I would love to have one if someone wanted to give me a gift of one. That'd be great. But I would never spend money on one because this is just as good, and I like the look of it. So I guess if I had to, say, I would probably go with this.
Yeah, and I'm gonna echo that. Me personally, if I had to buy one or the other, I would definitely go with this. The biggest thing being the functionality of my thumb not keeping the slide from locking back with the location of the slide lock, and the fact that I can carry this cocked and locked. Those are the two biggest things for me, because again, I'm not generally a big fan of double action, single action guns. That's why you haven't seen a lot of them on my channel, other than the Rex 01 models. And the thing that these do that I like is it allows me to shoot in single action, even straight from that first shot out of the draw. Though that's one of the reasons why I'm going to go towards the AREX. Now, that said, there's a lot of those cosmetic things that I like over the SIG 226 as well. Like you said, I just think it looks a little bit more modern and a little bit more sexy, in my personal opinion. That's totally a subjective thing. I like that it's got the always ambi magazine release, even though I'm never going to likely use that other side.
I said that too.
Exactly.
I said that all the time. Why do I need ambidextrous?
Yep.
I'm not going to have to worry about that.
Yep. You don't need it until you need it.
Yeah.
So it's nice that it's just always there. Now, where I will say the SIG 226 probably has the upper hand is aftermarket accessories, specifically holsters. It's really hard to find a company that makes holsters for the Rex 01s. There are some out there, and I will say, if you own an AREX, I believe this is still a thing. I don't know if they were just doing it for a limited time. But even if you were not the original owner, if you registered it with AREX, they would send you a holster compatible for your gun, which saves a lot of that problem. But that said, I still would like the availability of other aftermarket holsters, just because, that's something I'm going to want. Same with magazines. You're going to find SIG 226 mags a lot easier than you're going to find the AREX mags. So in pretty much everything other than aftermarket accessories, I think the AREX does everything better. It's been 100% reliable. Again, and I should say, I haven't cleaned it this entire time. I took it out of the box, gave it a quick rub down, and that was the first and only time I've ever cleaned the gun. And like I said, I've shot at easily over 500 rounds suppressed with this gun, and those were some of the first rounds I put through it. And the mags are super dirty, the gun inside is super dirty, but it's still running. It's still chugging along, and I'm very confident that it'll continue to do that for as long as I can continue to shoot it.
It is dirty.
And the top of the chamber area on the barrel, it's showing plenty of wear, but again, it's holding up very, very well, which is a really good thing. So in my opinion, if you're trying to decide between a SIG 226 and a Rex 01 of any model, I would probably go with the Rex 01. Now, when I was at SHOT Show, I learned that they now have the Compact Tactical, which is their 15+1 model. It's got a little bit of a shorter slide and barrel, shorter grip, so it's a 15+1 magazine, which you can still get the +2 extensions for, like these 20 rounders. But it's basically the Glock 19 size, and still have the suppressor sights, still have the threaded barrel, still have the optics ready. I really, really like the looks of that. So I can't really say whether I'd get one of these full-size ones over the compact, but I think whatever way you go, you're going to be happy. But me personally, I like these over, say, the SIG line, and really pretty much any of those other double-action, single-action guns out there, because of the cocked and locked and a lot of the other things we've run through. And again, just the track record. Of the 3 that I've shot, I've had 0 malfunctions across all 3 of them, so that goes a long way for me. So, anything else you want to say?
No.
One thing I should mention before we go too far is the gray frame on this. They do have a couple color options, so I'll throw little pictures of the other color options on the screen, or if you watch the SHOT Show video, you can see those options as well.
I would not go with gray.
See, to me, this is what I said at the SHOT Show. It's like if you want a nickel-plated sissy pistol, but a little bit more tactical. You still got the nickel plating look, but it's more matte, so it's not going to be super reflective and shiny. So it's like a tactical nickel plating on it. It's not nickel plated, I should say that, but that's kind of the look that I get from it. Some people like to.
It should be black. It's racist to put 2 colors on one gun.
Interesting. Well,
It's,
personal preference. You don't want ebony and ivory
no.
go together like perfect
No.
harmony or whatever? Anyway, so I guess you can leave that to your personal preference. I like the OD look on them. I like the other color options they have. But anyway, you can search to your heart's delight online and see what the other ones look like. But so anything else you wanted to add? I think I already asked you that. So we'll just go ahead and say, check the description below for the other videos that I've done on this, as well as whatever I'll link at the end of this video. But anyway, with all that said, as always, I hope you're able to get something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.
Better. Yeah, much better. That's nice. Once I got the grip right, it's good.
That's light opticals Japan. They make all the high-end glasses.
Not bad.
Fuck me.
I just spent some time with this.
I knocked off those 6-inch targets. What am I going to do again? You did?